Going live. Good morning, everyone. I'm hoping that this is going to work. I've had some technical issues today. I mean, it happens, so it's fine. Today, I wanted to continue my adoption series videos. Hello, happy Friday. And we're going to do an episode today on the question that I keep getting, which is how did you do this? How did you find your biologicals? So I'm really excited to share a quick video today about what I did over the years and what finally worked for me, and also just kind of share a lot of information with what does not work and how that might be helpful for other people that are searching. I think it was my very first episode. I said if I could be a good resource to anyone else who's on this journey, I would sure like to be able to do that and help other people on their path with finding their biological family, if that's what you're doing. It's also good information for anyone, parents or young people that have adopted children. Maybe you want to help them to find their biologicals later in life as well. So it's a lot to think about, and please do keep those comments coming and suggestions and emails. I really appreciate them all. And I will eventually get to everything. I'm going to continue this short series about once a week, adding information so that you guys can have a really good series to look over. And maybe you just want to watch the ones that are interesting to you. But today's episode is about my success. How did I finally do this? So let's start with the beginning. I think it was one of my previous videos. Coffee break, where I talked about my parents. My adoptive parents always told me that I was adopted, and then I had a children's book about being adopted when I was little, and how I always knew that there was a packet of papers in my mother's closet. I knew exactly where it was kept, and it was kept there until I was in my 20s, actually. So at some point when I was around 21, 22 years of age, I think, my mother handed me this packet and said, "It's yours. This is everything we have. If you want to look into it further, that's your decision." And we had a lot of open discussions about that. My adoptive mother, who's passed away now, was never opposed to me looking or finding my biological family. In fact, in some ways, she was very supportive of it. And that was pretty meaningful to me. We did have a lot of open communication. I know that in some ways it was a ginger topic. I had to gently discuss these things with her because I didn't want to hurt her feelings either, and make sure that she knew that no matter what I found, at the end of the day, she was still the woman that raised me. And that was important for me to always have her remember that and know that. And so there's that. So let's talk about this packet. This is a packet of papers, and these are the originals. So if you happen to have this as an adopted child, one of the biggest things I can tell you is to take care of it, be gentle with it, and even keep the originals in a very safe place, because you never know what's going to happen. On several occasions, I could have lost all of this paperwork forever, whether it was through an accident or a move or something that happened at my desk, or, it always just kind of scared me. So I did keep the original locked away for a long, long time. And other than when I'm making a video like this, I keep these in a very, very safe, secure place. Keep them in a safe deposit box, or even with a family member, so that you don't lose what you have, because it can be very, very valuable. So what I have is first a 50-year-old letter. This is from the foster mom that took care of me when I was a baby, and she just talks about my first few days of life. This is so old, and it's one of those typing papers that's very, very thin and kind of transparent. She typed it out on an old typewriter. I can tell. It talks about when I took a bottle and how much I weighed, and that I liked to be naked a lot, and that I didn't like clothes, and that I was not very good about being woken up. I like to sleep a lot and things like that. So it's cute stories. It's very cool, but it is some information that came from my fosters. The foster system, I have found, sometimes keeps records better. Uh, this is something that would not have been destroyed. We'll get into that in a minute. I also have from the social services people a three page document. This is the intake form that they did with my biological mother when they interviewed her to, to make sure that she was agreeing to adopt out her baby, basically. So there's a page for my birth story and how I was born after 9.5 hours of labor. My APGAR score was 10. Um, I had lots of curly dark hair and gray blue eyes without rashes or puffiness, but I do not appear to have any Indian blood. There's a lot of discussion about that in these papers, and I'm sharing it only because those are political correctness was not a thing in the past, if that makes sense. It was very important for the adoption agency to let my adopted parents know that I did not look like a Native American person, although I came from Native American people. So even with the page on my mother, it talks about her height, her weight, her dark hair and dark eyes, that she was a very attractive girl with good posture and she looks more Indian than to be expected. She was half Native American, which was very interesting. And presently goes to college. I think that's not true. I think she's a quarter. And her mother was half. That's actually in here too. Maternal and paternal history and a little bit of information about her siblings. And then there's a page for my paternal history, what she knew about my biological father, which in other episodes we'll talk about how this all turned out to be false. None of this on this page is true. So I don't know whether she didn't know who my biological father was or whether she presumed he was someone and he was not. But none of this information turned out to be, she may have made it all up. I don't know, which is interesting. That's another point to make too. And then finally, what I received is a copy of my agreement for adoptive placement. And that is a legal document. It was signed by the Department of Public Assistance, and it was by my adopting parents. It has both of their names and the address on here, and all of the information about the adoption placement, and further understood that this placement may be terminated at any time by the department if the judgment of the department is interest of the child, blah, blah, blah. On and on, a very long document, but right down here at the bottom, it says, to be signed in triplicate, 1 copy to be retained by the adopting parents and 2 by the department. Such a tiny sentence that actually got cut off once when I made copies of these papers to keep at my desk. And such a significant piece because this is one of the first steps that I took when I was searching for my biological family. So let's go way back in the time machine to when I first was around 21, 22 years old, and I was starting to do my biological search. This was before the internet. So the first thought that I came to was, if this is a triplicate form and to be retained by the department, who is the department? Okay, so from that I got the Department of Public Assistance, and I knew that would be in the town that I was born. And it even has a number. If you look way up in the top, State of Idaho DPA 29-A agreement, and all of the information that I needed was right there. Unfortunately, this piece of paper led me to nowhere but somewhere with some interesting information. I took my paperwork to Ada County, where I went, eventually ended up with the Department of Health and Welfare and some other people's assistance, and I ended up at the courthouse, where I found a lady that was a clerk, and she took the form and she went and searched their records to find, those other duplicate forms, and came back and let me know that my form was valid, my copy was valid, but that the other copies appeared to no longer be available. And she said it's possible that they were destroyed. Now, that was interesting to me because of course, I was really upset by that, but it also opened the question, who can destroy legal records like that? And interestingly enough, if you look at my maternal history, I have some pages here, and my newly found biological family will find this very interesting someday, I'm sure. It talks about my biological mother and her history, and there's a page, a section here for each of her parents. My maternal grandmother had some arthritis, but not serious. She was, it was unknown about her age or her education level. She was a housewife and had some arthritis. I think I said that. My maternal grandfather was in good health. He attended law school and was an attorney. And my biological family has since filled me in that after practicing law for several years, he went on to be a district court judge, who certainly would have had the means and opportunity to destroy legal records if he wanted to do that. Now, was it his idea? I don't know. I have a lot of speculation on that. It could have been my biological mother, but I feel like there was some influence there, and there was some destroying of records that was done to cover up some scandal, scandalous information that would be bad for the public view for someone who ran for public office in politics. Makes sense now, doesn't it? But before, it was very disturbing. So that was step number one that went nowhere. So later on, when the internet became a thing, I made myself an email and I started to do a lot of searching on the internet, and I actually found a website. I'm not sure if it's there anymore. At the time, it was called findme.org. And at findme.org, I was able to plug in all of my information and a phone number and my time of birth, my date of birth, my place of birth, and all of this information. And I filled out a section that said, anyone who is looking for me, this is where I can be found. Email me here. That website was up for many years. I think it's gone now. But it is a place that I had my information for more than a couple decades, I believe. And I would check it from time to time and see if there was anyone out there who was looking for me. It would have been very easy. And that website had a lot of success. There were always success stories and articles that came from there about, people who came in looking and said, I gave birth to a baby boy on this date at this hospital. Boom. If the other person was in the database, they were matched, and it was very successful for a lot of people. For me, no one at the other end was looking, and I think that is because no one knew. Now I know that nobody knew to look for that information. And my biological mother, eventually she passed away around that same time frame. So no one knew to look, and my information sat there for many years, and it was one of those things that I checked all the time and never got any real result. So there was that. The next step that I did in finding my biological parents was I was always enamored by the TV shows back in the day, in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, Jerry Springer and Oprah Winfrey and Ricky Lake and Montel Williams and all these people. And there was always an episode, oh, I found my biological sister after all these years and blah, blah, blah. And it was a reunion show and all of those things. So here's the thing. In case you don't know this, it's good to know that those shows are a lot of smoke and mirrors. It may be true that those people that's a real situation. Those really are adopted siblings that found each other after many years. However, none of those shows were willing to help you to do the actual searching and finding of your biological family. They didn't have the means, they didn't have the work. And even if they claimed that they did, it wasn't part of the deal, which was very disappointing. At the time, I actually tried to get onto a show. It was on ABC or NBC, one of those, and it was a primetime show that ran weekly for quite a while, and it was called um, I don't even remember, to be honest. It was adoption something. Anyways, it was more like a Dateline show, and I applied. I received a packet about this thick in the mail. I had to fill out all the pages, and these are actually copies of the pages that I sent back with as much information as I had. And I noted things. I wrote notes at the bottom and said, this is, this is what I knew. This is what I have. This is what I have searched. And I sent all of this information into that TV show, and I got the same response. I got a letter that said, let us know when you find out more. We'd love to have you on the show, but we don't do the searching for you. Oh, so now I could be on one of those shows. And I joke about it with my auntie that I have found. We could be on Jerry Springer. But it's one of those situations where you have to have had all the background work done and actually found each other first. Then you can go on the show and you can pretend, woohoo, this is the first time I'm seeing you. And that's how those shows work. Sad day. It really is. There are a lot of things I'd like to point out to people to keep you from spending money that you don't have on finding your adoptive family, your biological family, your adopted child. You have to be really, really careful. And I've noticed that this has gotten worse and worse over the years. There's a lot of people out there that will take your money. There's a lot of websites out there that will take your information. You have to be super, super careful not to put your own personal information into certain websites, because they're there to steal your identity. And they operate under these pretenses of, we'll help you find blah, blah, whatever. So you have to be really, really, really careful. If you're interested, you should definitely check out, there's a couple of websites, and I used a reputable one that is actually one of the same ones that is used by my local police department when searching for people. It's a search engine. You do have to pay a subscription fee for it, but here's the thing. If you Google a person's name and address or a year or a birth date or something like that, you're going to get 50 pages of websites like Find Me and People Finder, People Search, Person Finder, thetruthfinder.com, and all of these different places that say that they will help you to find certain people, background checks and addresses, and we'll give you their email address and all of these things. You've got to be really careful about those. Again, this is one of those services that's trying to steal information. A lot of them are. And also they they're kind of, I don't know. I hate to use scam. I think they're scams. I really do. They usually take a credit card and they say, we'll give you this information today for $1.99. And then it doesn't tell you that website will continue to charge your credit card $29 a month, $30 a month, $39, $49 and upwards. They'll charge your card every month for being part of their search engine service, blah, blah, blah. They also can charge your card every time you try to run or pull a report. So just be really careful about those kinds of things. Most of the ones that you find out there are just scam and money making schemes to take your money. I think I've spent in money less than $500 total in my search, but I have on, from time to time run reports and things that I've had to pay for, especially through the search engine that I personally use. And it is just one of those things you really have to be careful with that. And there's always somebody out to get you. So beware of those kinds of things and be wise about using them. I would suggest, if you really want to use the website, you think it's legit, you think it's going to be the one to use, get a trial credit card or a separate credit card just for that, which is one thing that I did. And you're going to use that credit card for those search engines and things. And then if something happens and they continue to charge or continue to get these charges to the card, you can just turn it off. So they can't charge to you anymore. It's a good thing to do because, boy, you can really get hit with some big fees from some of these places that are out there under the guise of being people finders. So watch out for those, and watch out for scams. Watch out for people. Even in today's age, it's really difficult to find a legitimate private detective, which is something that I've looked into in the past. And you can find people out there, same kind of thing, that will be, oh, I'll do the legwork for you and I'll do all the search for you and stuff. But it can be incredibly expensive. You don't know who you're getting in with, and you can really run into the same kind of bad situations there as well. So be smart about that kind of thing. I'll tell you that probably what finally saved my life at the end of the day was I did the DNA test. I did Ancestry DNA for $50 at Christmas because I thought, why not? Let's do this. I have a lot of family members that are, politically, they're on the side of, oh, don't give the government your DNA. And I'm here just to say, well, if they want my DNA with my arthritis and my big earlobes and my health problems, they can have it, because honestly, what are they going to do with my DNA? I don't really care. They also are now using a lot of DNA in forensics and research and helping to find people through forensics, like in the situation of a crime. They're using that familial DNA now, which is really interesting. If you're into that, you should look it up, to catch criminals and things like that. And I think, the more I can help with that, at least I feel like I'm helping with something. So take my DNA. I don't care. But here's a money-saving tip too. You should never spit into a tube for one company and send it in, and then spit into another tube and send it in, and spit into another tube and send it in. You don't have to do that. When you do any of these DNA sites, they will actually send you a report. It's in the fine print, and sometimes you have to look for it. But it's your full DNA report, and it is several pages long, and it's usually in a PDF format. It's pages and pages and pages of what looks like computer code, letters and numbers and breaks and all of this stuff. And you're like, I don't know what this is, but that is your DNA in a format that you can take from one system, and you can actually upload it to other services. And even if you only use the other services for a month or two, you upload your DNA report to these other services, and you can quickly do a search and see if there's anything else available to you there without having to start the process over, spitting into a tube again. It's just something that will save you money. And a lot of sites are upfront about that. And they even say, if you have your full DNA report, you can upload it here and use our service without having to do the testing. So watch for that. It's really handy. I've done it a couple of times. And at the end of the day, that's how I found my family. So I had done it at Christmas time, and I kept on the site for quite a while, and I tried to muddle through all the familial names and the places and the countries and the percentages, and this person who's a third cousin and a second cousin, and I thought I got pretty close. I even had some exchanges between a few people that were a little bit helpful, but really nothing until about the third year that I had been signed up for Ancestry DNA, and by chance, by luck of the draw, a first cousin actually did Ancestry DNA too, and bless her heart for doing that, because that is how I found my first cousin. From there, everything else fell into place between my search engine and the first cousin and the technology of Facebook and social media. I was really quickly able to find an aunt who led me to more cousins and even my biological siblings. So that's how that all happened. And I will go more into those things at a later date. Each of those are a separate and special story to me that I can't wait to share. I also will be, probably next time I do video, I will talk about the big, awkward conversations that are had at the time when you think you have a hit. You finally feel like you've found something. Unfortunately, when I found my biological family this last couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, that was not the first time that I thought I had really stumbled on something that was very possible. And so I have reached out to other people in the past and said, hey, how does that conversation go? It's very awkward. And so I think we'll talk about that. Once you've got your sleuthing all done and you think you've found the person, the people, how do you reach out to them? And we'll be doing that in the next episode. I'll talk about that, my successes and my failures, because I've had both. Both of those have happened. But that is all for today. I wanted to thank you for stopping by. Thank you for your comments and emails and suggestions. And I really do appreciate them all so much, because it helps me to know what are you interested in. I hope I can continue to be resourceful for people that are out there that are looking and hoping and praying. I understand what it's like to be in your shoes. If there's anything I can do or questions I can answer for you, just let me know. And I appreciate your time with me today. Everyone, please have a safe and happy weekend. It's really stormy, snowy, and cold here still. But maybe spring is on the way. We're going to cross our fingers for that. And I will see you next time. So thanks for stopping by, and have a great weekend. Have a great day, everyone. See you later. Bye.